Recording is.
Welcome to DXgov governance discussion for Wednesday, March 16th. Happy belated Pi Day and happy belated Ides of March. Let's start first with the proposal roundup. Pi Day in Europe is July 22nd, for those paying attention at home. So starting with mainnet here, a couple of proposals on mainnet here. Actually, three. Now that I think of it, one was not on the governance discussion one agenda. But yeah, the first one here is the Global Governance Gathering sponsor, otherwise known as GGG. This is a Dallas Amsterdam event, and this is actually the funding proposal. So there is a separate mirror proposal on XDI for people to vote on and support it. But this is the actual mainnet proposal itself, which is sending 12,000. I believe this is XDI and USDC. I wish I knew that. I should have known because of the decimals. So this is sending 12,000 USDC directly to the Daoist multi-sig. And I believe the Gnosis Chain proposal has already passed. Is that correct, Sky?
Yeah, the mirror proposal. The reason this one is delayed by a few days is because the original mainnet one at the same time as the XDAI one was incorrect USDC amount, obviously. So this was redone. So this raises like a kind of a DAO question because we already signaled support to sponsor this event, GGG event. We haven't paid. This theoretically is also the mainnet proposal to support the event. So we have the XDAI one, the Gnosis Chain one passing, which is a signal. We have this one that's moving the money. And so I would say that, they've already tweeted and they were actually saving a spot for us because we expressed that we were interested in becoming one of the patron sponsors, and there's only a certain number of spots. So they were saving a spot for us. And they actually just tweeted about us being a supporter and a patron DAO sponsor. So I would say that, if we say that we've already signaled support, we are sponsoring it, and this is the proposal that moves the money, I would say that the DAO could already say on Twitter that we're excited to sponsor and support the Daoist again. Would be my, but we can't. Yeah, you can't really point to this proposal because this proposal is not passed.
I mean, you could say, I think the language here, Wayne was asking about this. You could say a proposal has passed to sponsor the Global Gathering, because that's like a future tense. And so just because the payment hasn't sponsored, we have agreed to sponsor it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And as you mentioned, pointing to proposals is always great, especially for sponsorships and stuff. So that makes sense.
They also already tweeted that we sponsored them, so
Yeah. We want to respond to that tweet, and so
okay, got it.
Like what language to use, and I think Chris is saying if we could say, DXDAO passed a proposal to sponsor, is excited to have passed the proposal to sponsor the DXS, and there's another proposal that's making the payment or something.
And Sky always does a really good job of mirroring these proposals, because I think that's what is really kind of great here. I think there's a little bit, the only problem with this one was because the first proposal had the wrong USDC. But I think in a perfect world, the mirror proposal is linked to the mainnet proposal itself. And then you can kind of see, this is clearly where people are voting, and then the actual payment is happening elsewhere. And then I think the other thing to think about how this can be solved is, of course, we have some of these signed votes things here that we've been playing around with there. So that could be a similar way of almost combining the proposal where you're signing on another chain or voting on another chain, but it's actually one link on the mainnet one. But I like kind of thinking about how this looks from, we're trying to showcase governance, and how exactly do we explain that to people?
Maybe as a test, or people on the mainnet proposal, people should do the signed thing.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think that doesn't do anything because this is mainnet, because it has to be a new scheme, I think. But I guess these signed votes would show up on the front end, I think. I guess I'll try this now.
Augusto. Yeah, I don't think it works on mainnet.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think it doesn't. The roll-up part doesn't work.
It does.
Right.
It works on mainnet. It should work on mainnet, but you cannot execute it.
Yeah, you can't execute it, but you could like show that you voted for it. But like, I think for the new schemes, Augusto, this method would actually you'd be able to vote on another chain and then roll it up on this. But that's only with the new schemes, and that also requires a crazy amount of gas. But wait, so this would be I'd press this. Is that right, Augusto? Or no?
No, but I don't think it works on mainnet on a traditional scheme. Like you only see it on your side, but no one else will see it. Sorry to
it should work if you see if you share a signed vote, other people will see it, but they won't be able to execute it. You see, it's not executable.
Let's try it.
I'm doing it right here.
Live testing. Yeah, so at this point, it doesn't care about anything on chain. It's all just off chain.
Yeah, and don't select Rinkevi. Share it on your Orbit DB.
Signing this message can be dangerous. Oh, you guys aren't seeing this, but I'll sign it.
Yes. Well, you have the message that you have to sign in there, so you can check it on your device.
Yeah, so I just signed. Will it?
I think you'll see it on your side, but we won't see it. Or you don't even see it.
Well, let's come back later in the show. We put this little in here, and we'll see if it works. But we can go on to the next proposal. Yeah. And when we return from this commercial break, we'll check to see how the signed votes work. But yeah, we have two proposals also on mainnet that maybe we haven't seen in a while. One is just a simple worker proposal from Dave. This one has actually also been voted on within the last hour at a certain gas price. So if you check back later, maybe it will have a new vote on it. But there's that one, and then also one from Caney Fork about the ETH Denver stipend and gen reimbursement. And I can speak for myself, but the reason that I was doing this on mainnet, obviously because gas prices are low, is one reason. But actually, these costs in ETH were actually incurred on mainnet because they were incurred from the Caney Fork address. So part of the reason doing this proposal is because like that's what needs to come into my Caney Fork address, because that's where I'm actually paying a lot of the gas fees itself there. But a lot of this is because of the lower gas costs there. Okay, let's check this before going to Gnosis Chain. Still not yet. But yeah, let's move to Gnosis Chain and look at the proposals there. An interesting mix of proposals on Gnosis Chain. Actually, not too many regular proposals. There were, as I said, there were a couple. Maybe there's regular proposals actually on mainnet, and then we have the three. We have 3 live buyback orders right now. There is a contributor proposal for Boris Block, but the big proposals you can see here are all of the swapper farming proposals, which I think are really cool. Big thanks to Keenan, who is getting is in the sun right now, enjoying that, but set up all these proposals last week. I think there were 16 proposals here, and it's really cool. I think for all these coming through the governance, some of these are really cool because they involve so I think this one is actually two token campaign, but there's even like some 3 token campaigns. And so, just all of this campaigns being managed through the governance process, I think is really cool. And it also kind of highlights some things that we need to do and maybe improve on governance or understand. I think Spicy Soup noticed this in the Discord, that you can see how quickly holographic consensus runs up the price of Gen. So I don't know how much it would be right now to boost, but something probably around like 8,000 or 9,000 Gen just to boost a proposal. And that's because all these proposals are going in one shot. And the way holographic consensus works is it's designed to curate based on importance for voters here. So it's basically increasing the cost of capital to get a proposal in front of voters here. But yeah, these are actually just set to pass in the next couple hours, and then we'll launch those campaigns. And yeah, they start tomorrow at 1500 UTC. The last thing I noticed, just in terms of process, one of the things we did here was we actually simulated all of the proposals even before we boosted them. So we had, because the funds were actually already in the relayer, we were able to simulate them, which gives us a little bit more confidence about like kind of boosting them and using them. But yeah, you can see this one's going to pass in the next couple hours. One last thing on these, now I'm thinking of it, also reminds me of the use case of Jolt. It is very important when you are moving these proposals out of the boosted area, or into the boosted area from pending boost, that you do it in the correct order. So if you see here, like you need to do it based upon the least amount of gen, because as soon as you move this proposal up to the next one, that actually increases the number of boosted proposals and then increases the threshold that you need to meet here. So if you were to boost this one first, which is 1,506 gen, of course that would get boosted, but then that would increase the threshold where this first one would no longer get boosted. I think, I'm not sure if it was me or Dave, or it could have been Keenan, but there was a buyback proposal that was, it had, I think, 990 gen, and it was fine. But I think these four proposals would have gotten messed up if it was done in that order, even though the ones at the bottom would have. But that's, now we're really getting into the weeds here. I'm not blaming you. I don't think it was you. I don't know who it was. There have been times that other people who should not be named did not boost things in the right order. But the point of all this, of course, is that if we have an automated system of decentralized people that are paying for transactions, that will solve this problem as long as they're meeting it according to certain ways. So excited for Jolt in that way. Okay, past swapper farming proposals, there are also another pretty interesting proposal on the multi-call, and also in the, oh, here we go, get a nice pending boost here. So we have two proposals here, two proposals here. This is a deposit 415 WETH and 1.1 million XDAI in the swapper. And then this is actually the multi-call proposal that provisions the liquidity. So maybe Dave, you want to like walk us through how we got to this step of where we are now, where we're submitting this proposal to provision this liquidity. The mainnet proposal had passed about a month and a half ago, and we've done a lot of things in between to get ready for this.
Absolutely. So what we're doing here in this specific proposal is actually provisioning liquidity. So we have a separate proposal sending funds to the swapper relayer. And over the past weeks or so, we've tested the withdrawal function of the swapper relayer. So we covered that on a couple of calls, just to make sure that we can withdraw liquidity from our LP pools on swapper, and different ways to do so. And what this proposal is doing is pretty much the opposite. So instead of removing liquidity, we're adding liquidity. And so we're doing this in a couple of steps. So the total amount of funds sent to the swapper relay is actually much higher than what we're doing here, but we'll do this in like 3 or 4 proposals, most likely, just to break it up into smaller sums. And the way it really works is that this multi-call does a call to the swapper relayer ordering a provision of liquidity, which is just an order in the relayer. Once that order is placed by the DAO, only the DAO can do that, of course, because it's accessing those funds in the relayer, and we want to make sure no one else can move them or do whatever. So once the DAO creates the order, we just have to call the update oracle function twice, which just makes sure that we check the prices of those assets at the given time. So what we put here is just an estimation. In fact, Ether has moved up quite a bit, so we'll probably have a bit of Ether left out because we won't have enough wrapped XDAI in this proposal. So what the oracle does, it actually makes sure that it checks the prices at the time of the order being posted. We do that twice just to make sure that the price isn't manipulated. And then what we do is we just call function number 4, which executes the order. And given that the original call came from the DAO, the relayer has all the permissions to actually post that order on Swapper. And that's kind of how we provide the liquidity into the LP pool. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Not sure if there are any questions or... And well, one interesting fact is, well, interesting to me, I don't know how interesting it really is, but we're actually sending XDAI to the Swapper relayer, and the relayer itself automatically wraps it up. So if you look at token B, that's actually the token address of wrapped XDAI, but we never wrap the XDAI. So this is actually something that happens automatically within the relayer. When it gets the XDAI, it's just wrapped. And wrap tokens are not affected by the reentrancy bug on Gnosis Chain. So there we go.
I found that interesting. Yeah, and this is exciting for lots of reasons, mostly because this is going to be an injection of capital into Swapper. And I think Swapper has a lot of things, going on its back right now. We just went over those Swapper farming campaigns and a lot of talk there. So I think this liquidity will be very nice and important. So this will just be the beginning of it. I think one of the reasons to split it up is just because it is such a large deposit. It could, lead to some manipulation, or I don't know. This is about the same size as the largest deposit we've done before. Okay, I think that was it for Gnosis Chain proposals. Any questions, comments, concerns? Let's switch to Arbitrum 1. Actually did not have these on the agenda. I think the copy is marked down. File was not working for Arbitrum, but there's just like XI, or sorry, just like Gnosis Chain, there's tons and tons of, the proposals have already passed, so that's why they're not there. But Venki has been submitting the proposals and doing them there. So we've got the Swapper proposals there on Arbitrum. And then, yeah, so that was it for the proposal roundup. I did want to touch briefly on mainnet proposals and rep sync. So as I said, Dave and I both submitted proposals and I said argue could be done on XDAI. I think the reason Dave did it here was because he's also doing a rep sync. And the reason I was doing it here was because, as I said, the ETH was reimbursed to the account that was spent it, which was on mainnet. But I think low gas on Ethereum is somehow happening while the rest of the world has high gas prices, but we should be taking advantage of these low gas prices. So I think there are a lot of people who have earned a lot of reputation on Gnosis Chain, and I think it's a great opportunity to experience the thrill of mainnet proposals again. I guess it's 75 Gwei now, which is like somehow hot low in the last couple of months, but it's like high over the last like week or two. If you see, like, I don't know, I've been getting like, I think I got something in the teens in over the weekend. So it's like gas is pretty low. And so I think we should take advantage of this to do rep syncs and other mainnet proposals. And I do think it was an opportunity to maybe brainstorm here or think about offline of like, well, are there any other types of like mainnet proposals or things that we've been maybe pushing off because, gas has been over 100 Gwei. Gas is still like a big expense, but maybe it's an opportunity to do some things that we've been putting off.
It would just be DXD vesting, maybe. If people do next time, or Gnosis Chain, sorry.
I think we're waiting for audits on them before we deploy them, right?
On the DXgov,
we could redo it if we wanted to now. The only thing would be how we actually do the proposals, but I guess we can use the multi-call for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Sky's kind of suggesting is like there are people that do the DXD vesting themselves and have done it on mainnet because they like mainnet. And so I think if you want to do that yourself, now is a good opportunity because gas is relatively cheap. But I think it probably doesn't make sense to do everybody's.
Yeah,
on mainnet.
there's a couple people, well, maybe more than a couple, that like. So I know I'm talking to Tammy about it right now, but I think Caden also. I was talking to him in the past. I don't know if he ever did it, where they were just, they're not really regularly contributing to DXDAO as much anymore, and they have this like outstanding DXD, and like there are some ways to just get it consolidated and get it implemented on mainnet using launching the contracts themselves and stuff like that, which is what I had done in the past. There's a few different ways to do it. And so I think I was, with lower gas, like that's an opportunity for someone like those two people that maybe they want their DXD just in a vesting contract. They may go ahead with that on mainnet, and obviously cheaper gas is better for that. But that's like one-off scenarios. That's not a good answer for like getting everyone's DXD into vesting contracts, I don't think. So one-offs, if you have a question or you really didn't want it, if you really don't want it on Gnosis Chain, like reach out and like potentially we could get it done on mainnet. I can help you.
And then just for like the governance check on that, remember we did pass a proposal in mid-December, early December, that was a approval of DXD issuance to contributors that had not received it. So anyone, and this is my interpretation of that proposal, right? Anyone is now eligible to be able to submit proposals that pay out DXD to vesting contracts that fit under that kind of proposal, and that should be kind of easy to track. And so I think anyone is able to do that, but that's kind of separate from like, I think we need to come up with like an automated way to be able to do this in like a more scalable way.
Yeah, one strategy, and I think I posted about this, but one strategy was like I had from 2 years ago, I had some, or actually from 1 and 2 years ago, well, actually from 1 year ago, I had some DXD that vests like starting March 1st, but I basically, to save gas, I combined like March and April into May and June. And so then I actually just put those 4 months together in the delayed by 2 months. So March, April, so May 1st. So like my cliff for that period should have been March 1st, but I have it locked up till May 1st just because it made it easier and saved gas and stuff. But that's like another idea to like combine. If you have like multi-month periods, you could combine them in one and probably use the conservative later date is one way to do it. But.
Awesome. And be thinking about other things we can do on mainnet. And those of you that have been spending time on Gnosis Chain Arbitrum, mainnet is exhilarating also. Next up, I just wanted to chat briefly about the swap fee, the update swap fee. Vinky could not make it, but he did want to tell me to pass along. Let me pull up what he said. So he's hoping to move forward with the swap fee adjustment to start with the Gnosis chain. So remember, we had talked about this. I guess it's almost been a month here, but we've been chatting about this for a while about increasing the swap fee on certain pairs, and basically the swapper and DXD. And I think we have landed at this as something to experiment. It may decrease the amount of volume, but maybe increase the overall amount of fees to LPs, which would increase the protocol fee. I think it makes sense for certain tokens that maybe are not necessarily being driven by the swap fee percentage. So yeah, after some of these, you can kind of see some of the polls here on what people are looking for. And I think we had hoped to use maybe a swapper snapshot for this, but I don't think we can because we had some of the staking issues. But yeah, I was going to work with Vinky this week about submitting some swap fee proposals where we increase the swapper XI1 from 0 to 1% and then increase the DXD WETH swap fee from 0.25% to 0.6%, and we're just waiting for some of these proposals to clear through and lower the minimum threshold to boost them. But wanted to check here to see if there was any thoughts before submitting those proposals up for a vote. So much going on with Swapper here is another thing. Changing the fees, launching campaigns, putting liquidity in. Cool. So be on the lookout for those. Yeah, be working with Becky on that. Next up is DXD. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Sorry, I'm on the wrong browser. Dxd Buyback Extension, number 7. Lucky number 7, Dave. Anything to be on the lookout for this one here?
Well, one thing to be on the lookout is actually Chris's comment. So, well, I posted this extension with my very thorough approach of copying the previous buyback extension number 6 and changing the data points that needed to be changed. And one thing Chris observed is that previously we've always sold Ether to move funds to Gnosis Chain. And I think Chris's comment is just opening up a bit the idea to give some thought about, the funds and how we use them. Ether is not at the highest price we've seen it. It's not at the lowest. I think that's ultimately very subjective. But we do also have stable coins on mainnet, for example, DAI, right? So if we're looking to bridge some DAI and some WEF to Gnosis Chain, we could just bridge WEF as it is.
Do we lose him, or is that me?
He may just be muted.
Oh,
Did
no.
someone just mute Dave?
Okay, in between, someone muted me, not the whole time.
Yeah, but just to set the stage, so we are actually, Dave is talking about the transfer proposal to Gnosis Chain, not the buyback extension, but this is a very similar thing. And so, we've been doing transfers to Gnosis Chain for a while, but the point I was making here is, like, going forward, we're going to have to think about how are we funding DXgov operations, whether that's coming from the ETH asset base or using existing stable coins or even like selling DXD. And so not something to think about at all right now, but maybe something I think in the future about, like, how are we actually funding the operations, like, given our capital base. Dave, are you unmuted?
I'm here until someone mutes me again. But yeah.
So not really any actual items, but maybe like kind of, just going forward, something to think about in terms of the funding. And then while we were on it, the original question, anything in this buyback extension, number 7? So I guess this is the draft up now. We don't have the proposal up, but I think this is, if I recall, there's really not anything different in here. We had made a change about the adjusting for any lapses in trades, but this one I think should be pretty much the same there.
I mean, it's still the story of what is.
Yeah, the only thing is the DXD issued to contributors, right? So
yeah, and we're still working on that. We're actually gonna maybe chat about that contributor X call. Yeah, just estimating that so we can have an accurate idea of what the DXD circulating supply is. And it did look like CoinGecko actually lowered the circulating supply with that last DXD return proposal, that it now recognizes that DXD in the treasury. So I think the circulating supply on Gnosis Chain is now 48,480. I mean, sorry, the circulating supply on CoinGecko is now 48,488. Yeah, and that was it for the agenda. Is there anything else we missed? Anything else we should be chatting about? Anything on the mind? Nylon with two ends. I see that.
Yeah, the regular nylon doesn't work for some reason. I
Yeah.
have no idea why.
Cool. Yeah. Well, if that's it, we can leave it here. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Obrigado.